So far, we have seen the various techniques for solving the problem, finding the first and last occurrence of a value in a sorted array, right? Now, in this video, let's quickly write the binary search based, solution for the same problem on our JavaScript implementation. So for that, I have basically set up the new file and I have written the new class. Inside this class, I have also added first and last occurrence in array using binary search function. This function is taking the array of values. Along with this array of values, we will also take the target value that needs to be searched in the sorted array of values that we have been given. Now, remember that whatever the array of values that we have been provided, these array of values are already sorted in the ascending order. Now, our job is to find the first occurrence of this target value and the last occurrence of this target value, and we need to return that first and last occurrence array in the end once we find the positions of this specific target value inside this array. Okay, now for that, first of all, let me just read the length of the array that we have got so that we will be able to reuse it wherever we want it. Now once we have read the length of the array, if at all the length of the array is equal to 0, that basically means that there are no values inside the array. In that case, obviously the first and last occurrence of the specific target element that we have been given will be -1 and -1. If this is not the case, that means we have certain number of values inside the array. Now our aim is to check if this target value is available in it. If it is available, we need to return the first and last occurrence of it in the end. For that, first of all, what I would want to do is, since I want to make use of binary search for finding the first and last occurrence, since it is a sorted array, let me just define couple of variables. Start, this I'm initializing it with the very first index, which is 0 in an array, and I'm also going to define another variable end. This I'm initializing it with length -1, which is the last index in the array. Similarly, let me just define another variable mid and initialize it with -1. Similarly, first let me just initialize another variable, first occurrence index. This also I'm going to initialize it with -1 right now. Now all our aim is to find the first occurrence of this target value in this array, and we keep updating this first occurrence index variable with that specific index using the binary searching. So here all we do is, as long as this start is less than or equal to end, all we do is we will calculate the middle. Since we are using JavaScript, it will give the floating point numbers, right? So for that, what we will do, first we will try to calculate the start plus end divided by 2, and we will floor it. Okay, once we have this middle available, right, now what we will do is, if at all the value we have at this middle index is equal to the target value we have been provided, in that case we have calculated the middle, right? There we found the target value, so it could be the first occurrence, right? So for that, whatever the first occurrence index variable that we have defined, we will simply initialize it with middle value whatever we have got. Now middle we've calculated, there we found the value, but here we are trying to find the first occurrence, right? There could be some other values before this middle where this target value could be available. That means we still need to continue our search in the left part of the array. For continuing that search, what I will do is, I will simply update end with middle -1. In this way, we will again go and search in the left part of the array. Again we will calculate middle, and if that middle is matching, again we will continue the logic such that any part that is there on the left side, if the target value is available, such that whatever the first index variable that we are keeping track, it will keep track of that specific values index. Okay, if that is not the case, what are the other scenarios? Here we have checked for equal to scenario, and the other scenarios are greater than and smaller than. Now all we do is, if at all the array of mid is equal to, is greater than the target value that we have been provided. Now here, whatever the middle value that we have found is greater than the target. That means the target could be available anywhere on the left part of the array. For that, here I will simply update end is equal to middle -1. Obviously the other scenario is less than, right? Here obviously The other scenario is whatever the value we have in the middle is less than the target. That means target is somewhere on the right side. So for that, what I will do is, let me update the start with middle plus 1. Now once we exhaust all the comparisons that we need to do in the sorted array that we have got, whatever the value that resides inside this first occurrence index is there, right? If at all this target value is available, this variable will basically hold that value inside it. In the end we can return it, but the next step is we have to still find the last occurrence also, right? For that, what we will do, we will still apply binary searching once again for finding the last index in the similar way. For that, what I will do is, whatever the start that we have, we will initialize it with 0. Whatever the end that we have, this also I will initialize it with last index. And similarly, mid I am going to reinitialize back to -1. Similarly here, whatever the first index variable that we have, first occurrence index variable that we have defined, here we will simply define last occurrence index and we are going to initialize it with -1. Now here all we do is we will just copy the entire whatever the while logic that we have run, right? Here also we will run the same logic. Now the only change that we need to do here is the middle calculation will be exactly similar. Now if at all the middle index value is matching with the target value, that is absolutely fine, because that could be the last occurrence index. That's the reason why here, instead of updating the first occurrence index, we will update the last occurrence index with whatever the middle value that we have calculated. Now here what we are trying to do, we are trying to find the last occurrence. Previously in this while loop we've tried first occurrence index. First occurrence index will always be there on the left part of the array, right? That's the reason why we have always updated this end with middle -1. But here we are trying to find the last occurrence index. Last occurrence index will always be there on the right part of the array. For continuing that right part of the scanning, once again what we will do is we will update the start with middle plus 1, such that the scanning will still go on the right part of the array by calculating the middle and whatever the logic that we have written. And the other scenarios are obviously if at all the middle value we have is greater than whatever the target value that we have provided. In that case, the value could be available on the left part of the array. That's the reason why I'm updating the end with middle -1. If that is not the case, that means if the value we have in the middle is smaller, the last occurrence could be there on the right part of the array. That's the reason why start I'm updating with middle plus 1. Okay, so this is the important thing that we need to do here. Here one more thing that you notice here is, here we are initializing the start with 0, right? One more modification that we can do for searching effectively, even effectively, is that we can check if the first occurrence index is some not -1, if it is a valid index or not. If it is a valid index, obviously we can start the search only from that index as well. That is also absolutely fine. If the first occurrence index is already -1, there is no value, right? Obviously the second or the last occurrence index will be -1 as well. So you can still do some modification on top of this implementation to bring down the number of iterations. If at all, if you want, you can take that as a challenge. Now we have both first occurrence and last occurrence, right? Here in the end, what we will do, we will simply return first occurrence index and last occurrence index. In the end, we will simply return an array containing two values. One is first occurrence index and the other one is last occurrence index. Okay, this is a very effective way of finding the first and last occurrence of a particular target value inside a sorted array of values using binary searching. Remember that here whatever the array that we have got is sorted in the ascending order. You just need to do the opposite of what we have done here, if at all, if the array of values you have been given is in the descending order. Okay, you can take that also as challenge and you can try solving that problem as well. Now that we have solved this, let's just try to call this function and validate it. First, let me just define array values. Let's just say the values that I want are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and 5. here let index first or last occurrence index. Let me just create the object reference, right? First last occurrence equal to flo equal to new first and last occurrence. Okay, and from here flo dot, let's call the function that we have defined, and let's just pass the array, and let's say I want to search for the value 5, and this will basically return the result, right? Let result, and here console.log of result of 0, and along with that let's also print result of 1. Okay, so now if you look at here, the array is sorted in the ascending order and the value 5 is available 2 times in the array, right? And it is available at index 4 and index 5. First occurrence is index 4 and the last occurrence is index 5. So if I run this right now, that is the output that I should be getting. So see, if you see the console, we have got 4 and 5. Similarly, let's just say here we did not have 4, rather we have 5. So the first occurrence of 5 is at 3 and the last is at 5, right? So if I run this code right now, that is the output that I have got. For other test case, let's just say I want to search for the value 2 itself. 2 is available at index 1. First time it is appearing at index 1, and the last time also the index 1 itself is the, I mean, it is appearing only once, right? That means it is the first and last occurrence. So if I run this code right now, 1 and 1 is the value that I have got. Let's just say I want to search for some value, something that is not there in the array. If I run this right now, I should get -1 and -1, which we have gotten. Okay, so it is basically working for all the scenarios. Okay, if at all, if you want to test out some other scenarios, you can check out codingpal.org. So that is how we solve the problem of finding the first and last occurrence in a sorted array of values we have been given. Okay, if at all, if you want to try out the various approaches that we have discussed in the algorithmic discussion, you can check out codingpal.org. There you will find any other approach for finding the solution of this specific problem. If at all, if you want to validate this solution against multiple other test scenarios as well, you can check out codingpal.org. Okay, so that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next implementation.